Hello? Hello? This is week 2, spring 22, Princess Steps. And before we get started with tonight's topic, which is shoes, I have 4 announcements and people standing by to help me remember what they are. Okay, and in no particular order. First, I'm excited for this Friday at 11:59 p.m. Y'all know why? Okay, so what that means to us is that next Tuesday, these are not required in here. If you want to wear it, it's optional. You're very welcome to, but it won't be required. We just want to give you a heads up in that respect. Okay? Second, has to do with safety in the park. Daylight savings time happens. That means the park will fill up more with people. So a reminder to be courteous and respectful of the fact that we, as a big group, can be a little bit intimidating. We need to be respectful and kind of move over and communicate with the people in front of us or behind us, whatever, if there's oncoming people or tricycles. Number 3, keep your side conversations on Tuesday nights in here to a minimum out of respect, just so everybody can hear. Because sometimes it's hard, you know, when people are trying to project in this long of a space. Number 4, Happy International Women's Day. Yeah. So, are there any questions before I continue? Okay. So, you're starting, right? Oh, I'm going to start? Okay.
Intro.
The introduction. Shoes. As you can see, we have lots of shoes, and you all, as a added value, as a perk for being in the clinic, receive 10% off of the regular price shoes throughout the duration of the clinic. It's one of the first lines of defense against injury is having good shoes. A lot of you have already gone through the fit assessment here, but not everybody. How many people have already gone through the fit assessment here? Quite a few. Okay, but those of you that have not, we're going to talk about it. Also for whoever's in the audience out there in the World Wide Web observing tonight, what the fitting process is. So before we get into that, though, John's going to talk a little bit about the actual foot, and we're going to kind of go back and forth on. I'm going to talk at some point about the process, the fit assessment process, and what we go through to train our employees. Okay, but first he's going to talk about some technology things and the foot and that type of thing.
Okay. Greetings, everybody.
Okay.
So, the human foot. Okay.
Show the camera. 26
bones, 33 joints, well over 100 moving parts, 250,000 sweat glands. Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. There's a lot going on. And every time that your foot hits the ground, all these bones and joints, 33 of them, articulate, they move. And have to balance how your body moves forward. Okay? So, shoes are important, keeping these things healthy, all these bones happy, all these joints happy, everything moving forward. Okay? Pretty much with walking and running, it's what we're designed to do, move forward, okay? Not a lot of side to side, not a lot of lateral motion. We're not chasing a tennis ball around or a basketball around, okay? So the whole concept on walking shoes and running shoes is to facilitate movement from heel to toe off, push off, and then move into the next step, okay? What we're trying to do with running shoes, walking shoes, is eliminate side to side kind of motion, okay? Lateral meaning to the outside, medial meaning to the inside. So if you think about the arch, when things move towards the arch, that's a medial movement, okay? Lateral is staying to the outside. So has everyone heard the term pronation before?
Yes.
Okay? We all pronate. Everybody has to pronate. Because the way the human body works, your heel hits the ground first, and as you move forward, you can't just hang out here on these little toes on the outside. You got to roll over so that you can push off that big toe. Okay? And that motion of moving from the outside to the inside, that's really what pronation is. Okay? Some people pronate excessively, where they come down, that arch just collapses. See how that's moving? That arch just collapses and they kind of roll off that big toe really early. Okay? Some people are what are called underpronators or supinators. Okay? They stay way out here because they usually have a really high rigid arch, and then right at the last moment, toe off and roll to the inside. Okay? Over the last 50 years, shoe design has moved back and forth, with theories and concepts and how we're going to protect this foot, how we're going to protect the human body. Okay? With Prince's steps, we talked about it last week, and you'll hear it week in and week out. Okay, the whole concept of overstriding. We don't want this heel way out in front of us. Okay, we want the heel underneath us, so when you land, all the shock absorbers that are there's 33 joints, 100 moving parts in the foot. Okay, all those shock absorbers work on the foot. Your knee works, your ankle works, everything is kind of absorbing shock naturally. All right. 7, 8 years ago, somewhere around there, we had this great theory out there. Because we all have human feet, okay? Then we should make shoes that look like a human foot. You should learn to run naturally. Okay, this has no cushioning properties whatsoever. This does because of all the joints, okay? But the older you get, the fat pads, the tendons, the ligaments start stiffening up, just part of the natural aging process. So things like 5-finger, which let your foot go any direction it wanted to. People who were overpronators, guess what they did? Twisted, okay? I'm happy to say that Susan, Bob, and I never bought into this whole concept. So we kept all of our customers. A lot of stores. I mean, honestly, I think probably this was the greatest thing in the world for physical therapy clinics, podiatrists. Unfortunately, it probably wiped out about 15 to 18% of the running population at the time, because a lot of people got hurt. Okay? So what has happened in the running industry? We have gone from 5 fingers to polka, right? Lots of cushion, lots of support. Doesn't really move at all, okay? It's a rocker. So it goes from heel to toe, kind of rocks you through. So, which is right? The answer is yes. Okay? It's right for the right people. And that's kind of, Susan will jump in and talk about this, how we train our employees, our sales associates, and all the training that we go through and the sales reps go through with us that we pass on to the to the staff, there are a lot of theories about how to protect the human foot, how to protect walkers, runners, how to protect all these joints. Because how many people want to still do this when they're in their 80s? Okay? Definitely. What's that?
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that are, a few ladies who are kind of close to that. But that's the whole concept, okay? We're trying to protect your foot, trying to protect the human body, trying to protect all those joints from shock, okay? And moving around too much side to side, okay? I'm going to jump back to shoes in a second. Where'd Susan go?
I'm right here.
Oh, there.
No.
Okay. So I want you to talk about how we train.
We take training very seriously, and each one of our employees gets to try on every single shoe. Not once, not twice, but 3, 4, sometimes 5 times. Because what we do is we go brand by brand, and they try on every single shoe from this brand, and then every single shoe from this brand, and so on and so forth. And then after they try on every single shoe and they learn the brands and the different models within those brands, then there's certain categories. And to simplify it, I'll say neutral and stability. And as John talked about, overpronation or underpronation or neutral, we categorize you when we go through the fit assessment, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then that, based on how we categorize you through the fit assessment, that helps guide what we choose, be it a neutral shoe or a stability shoe. Okay, and within a stability shoe, there's mild stability, moderate stability, and high stability. And so it's very, very important that every one of our employees knows what the shoes are, so that the magic can happen when we go through the fit assessment and we see what your individual needs are. We know what the product is, and we put that together. That's the magic, and that's the fun that can happen. And if at all possible, we like to give you at least a couple options, maybe 3. It just depends on what we have available, size-wise and that type of thing. But usually we have at least a couple different options, and then sometimes more for you. May or may not be in the exact color you want. John's going to talk about that supply chain thing in a little bit too. So once again, after we go through each brand, then we're going to go through the categories. So all the neutral shoes across brands, and the employee gets to try them on again and compare, Brooks versus New Balance versus Saucony, Asics, Hoka, etc., Ultra, within that category to see, well, how is this shoe different than this shoe, even though they're all in the same category? So that when it comes time to working with each individual customer, we're that much more knowledgeable to know, okay, if your foot's wider or narrower, if you have a high volume foot or a low volume foot, we know the shoe that's probably going to match up with that foot better than the other shoe. And then, not to complicate it, but if you have a custom orthotic, that adds to the mix. Okay, we need to make sure that shoe accommodates your orthotic and allows your custom orthotic to do what it was engineered to do. And then sometimes people say, well, what about the over-the-counter? Do I need the shoe plus an over-the-counter insert? Maybe, maybe not. We talk about that too. So so that's the process that we go through with each employee. I'm in the process of training an employee right now, and depending on how many hours I have an employee, it could take a long time to train them because they have to go through all that and they have to take notes. Yeah, we take our training very, very seriously.
Wow.
Yes, wow. Mm-hmm. It's, yeah. They observe me with customers, and then at some point we flip it and I start observing them with customers. Yeah, so it's a long process. Some of the employees, as you can imagine, catch on quicker than others. Yeah.
And actually, I'll speak to that. We unfortunately just lost a guy that was a great employee who in high school had worked at one of the big sporting goods stores. I won't mention the name. And when Susan went through all the training with Alan, he was like, wow, there's an awful lot to learn. I had no idea there was so much to learn. I worked in the shoe department at, big box store. And he said basically the training was left foot, right foot, shoes, go. So we don't do that, okay? There's an awful lot to this. Right now I'm holding an Ultra shoe. Ultra has helped us quite a bit with the women's clinic in the last 3 years now.
Well, this is the fourth
Year.
clinic,
Fourth
I
year.
think.
Or
Well,
yeah.
fourth clinic.
Yeah, so over 3 years. 4 clinics over 3 years. I showed you the human foot before, right? Notice the bottom of that shoe. Okay? Pretty similar. So, kind of is a Hoka and Ultra both have been around about 11 years now. Okay? And they really have transformed the running shoe world quite a bit because it's like two completely divergent types of thought about shoes. With Ultra, everything is level cushioning, just like the human foot. The heel isn't any higher than the forefoot, okay? Level from here to here. The stack heights is what the cushioning part is called, okay? The stack heights go from kind of low like this one to they've got one that's kind of similar to what this Hoka is. Lots of cushion underneath, okay? Where Hoka wants to do a rocker with not a lot of flex whatsoever in the forefoot and the toe joint. Ultra wants to put lots of flex, just like the human foot works. So again, which one's right? Like Susan said, either if it's us fitting you or any of our employees fitting you, they know all the differences. They know why one shoe brand's got a theory this way, one shoe brand's got a theory that way. But it's really what one's going to work the best for you. Okay? I mentioned that.
Oh, John, I forgot something. Can I come back
Sure.
in?
Yeah, okay. I got a problem.
I told you we would go back and forth. Part of what you can expect in the fit process, you can expect that we're going to ask you to take your shoes off, and we're going to ask you to walk without shoes so we can see what your foot profile is. We can see how much you're overpronating, and that's kind of part one, just watching you walk. And then we're also going to ask you, when you try the shoes, to walk or run, whichever the case, back and forth a few times. So you get to truly experience what the shoe feels like. We, on the other hand, are going to observe from our experience, and then we'll compare notes. This is what we saw, this is what you felt, and we go on from there. I lost my train of thought. Let's see. Oh, I know. If you have your current older shoes and it's not too inconvenient to bring them with you, then while it's not required, it can be helpful, because oftentimes there's a wear pattern on the bottom. And we're not looking so much back here, we're looking here to see what that wear pattern is in the shoe that you currently have. And it depends on the shoe you have. Is it a stability shoe or a neutral shoe? That wear pattern can oftentimes give us even just another level of information about what your biomechanical foot profile is.
Do you want to talk here? Why don't you get back?
Oh,
You're going to talk about socks while I do this.
okay.
So I mentioned earlier about the other interesting thing about a human foot is that it has 250,000 sweat glands in it. Okay? So think about, over the course of an hour, how much sweat goes into your feet. Or leaves your feet, I should say. Okay? That is 1 hour's worth of exercise, perspiration, in one human foot. Okay? Smells good, doesn't it? Okay. So the reason I'm bringing that up is socks, which is also part of a really important fitting with shoes.
Who'd have thought socks would make such a difference? But they really do. And in our whole industry, non-cotton is truly the way to go, because cotton absorbs moisture like a towel very effectively, very efficiently, and it hangs on to that moisture, which can contribute to friction and blistering. And along the way, cotton also tends to not hold its shape, so there's a lot of bunching up, and the heel doesn't stay on. Also, there tends to be a big, thick kind of seam across the top of the toes, which can really wreak havoc blister-wise. And so, whether it's Gallagher, Features, Swiftwick, those are the top three of the top brands in our industry. They're seamless, they're non-cotton. Some of them are wool for people that like wool, and that's a good moisture phobic type of fabric. But most of them are, they're a synthetic blend that is engineered to wick moisture away and keep our feet warmer and drier when it's cold and cooler and drier when it's hot. Some of them are thinner, some of them are thicker and cushionier, some of them are kind of middle of the road. You got tall ones, short ones, middle of the road ones, colorful. There's so many socks. Kind of a funny little story. When people are in here, I encourage, okay, see that big sock wall over there? And they're looking. I don't see a softball. So, you know, I'll be happy again to get rid of these. But I say it's the big old sock wall, the wall with socks. So go over there and then see the door. So that's your walkway. That's your runway. All the way from there to there and back and forth and back and forth. Socks. We're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we mentioned colors and styles. This is the 25th year that we've been doing this. So I've been buying and putting shoes on the shelves for 25 years. I've never had a year like this. No one's ever had a year like this. The supply chain stuff is very real. Shoes that we were supposed to get in September and October are just now showing up. It's been a challenge. We've done a really good job, I think, of getting the shoes, at least making sure that all the sizes are covered, all the different brands, all the different categories that that Susan mentioned. We're doing a pretty good job of keeping everything as much as we can in stock. What has vanished, though, is that, oh, I like this shoe, but are there other colors? Because what happened, most of the shoes now, in the last 10 years or so, are made in factories in Vietnam. And Vietnam, between July 15th and October 15th to October 30th, depending on the factory, factories were completely 100% shut down, closed. So for over 90 plus days, not a single shoe was manufactured for any company. Okay? That's a lot of shoes. The other thing is, once a shoe, well, kind of the whole process is all the raw materials go to a factory. Shoes are made, shoes leave the factory, go in boxes, get shipped to the ports, go into containers, the containers go across the ocean, the containers land, the containers get emptied. How many people have heard about containers?
Yes.
Any idea what a container was before this year? Okay. That whole process of manufacture to delivery to the warehouse typically was about 10 to 14 weeks. Okay, so 2.5 to 3 months average. It is now 30 to 38 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, so like 7-8 months. So a lot of things have slowed down. I'm in touch with a lot of different shoe companies, a lot of different other stores. We're all kind of scrambling to try and find enough product to take care of everybody. Because guess what has also happened in the last 2 years? Running and walking has accelerated to the moon. There are more people walking and running. I mean,
It's awesome.
COVID was amazing in a lot of different ways. There's good things and bad things, of course, but from the perspective of the running and walking industry and the perspective of people really kind of realizing, wow, my personal health really is important. And it's also fun to meet my neighbors. And my dog is thinner than it's ever been. Because, everybody was walking their dogs 6 times a day. Getting outside, doing a lot of things. COVID taught us an awful lot of stuff. So it's great, and this was kind of a worldwide thing. So running and walking worldwide has gotten more popular again. Thank you. But now we're of a shortage of products. So a lot of things are getting slowly better. April, May, things will improve. By June, July, August, should be more back to normal. Should be more opportunities for other colors, other options. Some of the companies just decided, okay, we're not going to do anything more of that old model. We're just going to wait till the new model shows up, which is going to be more like July, August, September, October. So sometimes people have come in and say, wow, my favorite shoe, where is it? There aren't any more left. And they're not going to make any more until the next manufacturing run later in the spring, or later in the summer.
What was the normal span of time before all this happened? That it would take?
10 to 14 weeks.
And now it's 8 months?
Now it's, like 30 weeks.
Wow.
So the idea is that, more and more of the factories are going to get to 100% capacity, but it's kind of a pick and choose, and, we will also learn the word allocation. So if anybody's bought or tried to buy different things, you know what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to give a word on that, let everybody know we're doing our best, and things are going to get better real soon here in the next 6 to 10 weeks. So, okay. And she's in? Oh, she's over there. Okay. Any questions about shoes, about foot, about Sweatplanes? Great question. Okay, the question is, how often should you buy new shoes? Typically, the average shoe lasts about 300 to 400, maybe 500 miles. A lot of it has to do with the surface you're on. If you are constantly on concrete and concrete only, that compression, that midsole material, even with the big Hokas, is going to start compressing. Okay, and the cushioning material, it's nice big cushy foam, just collapses. So that takes time, and over time we don't notice day to day how much it starts compressing. Well, pretty much the average for shoe is about 300 to 400 miles. That foam has compressed. Okay, so wow, geez, 300, 400 miles, that'll take forever. I'll never do that. Well, women's clinic, you guys are doing 12 to 20 miles, I think, a week. Okay.
We go by minutes.
Yeah, we do by minutes. I know, we go by minutes. But if you think about it, if you're doing 20 miles a week, you're 80 miles a month. Okay. So we'll do the math real quick. 4 months, you're kind of working through a pair of shoes. Okay. Pretty much, if you got a shoe for over a year and you've been wearing it day in and day out, that shoe has lived its full life, and it's time to start replacing. Yeah, right. For running and walking.
There. Also, people. Okay, what's your most comfortable shoe that you have? Really, oftentimes people gravitate when they have to go do an errand or go hurry up and do something. They'll gravitate toward what's most comfortable. And if that's your running shoe is your most comfortable shoe, and you wear it for other things, those miles count too. And I can't tell you how many people we have that come in those doors that get running shoes that don't run. Most of our customers don't even run. They come here for shoes for life, for work, maybe for walking, But most people, most of our customers don't even run. They get these shoes because they're so comfortable. We get great support and have had for all 24 plus years from the medical community, physicians, podiatrists, physical therapists, trainers, etc., etc. Go to Gallagher's. Go to Gallagher's. Go to Gallagher's. Well, they're not running, but they want the comfortable shoes.
Safe shoes. Safe for their bodies.
Right.
I have a question, real quick.
Mhm.
Do feet change over time, the pronated and?
That's an awesome question, yes.
You wanna repeat
Do
the
feet
question?
change over time? Yes. What happens when you're in your teens and 20s, you got all these nice taut ligaments that hold that foot together, and the more miles we spend on our feet, age, those ligaments start relaxing, okay? So if you were a size 8 when you were 25 or 30 years old, we guarantee you, you're no longer an 8. You're not going to be able to shove your foot into a size 8 anymore. The reason is those ligaments start relaxing, and everything that binds that foot together, okay, just starts spreading out. Your bones haven't gotten any longer. Females, for the most part, your foot is about the size it's going to remain when you're, 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Okay? So that shoe size is the same size, but your foot just relaxes and the bones are the same size, is what I should say. So
The
foot
ligaments
relaxes.
relax,
Yeah.
and so
It
the
takes
foot
or spread.
elongates.
And the arches, for years, the whole thing was, you have fallen arches. Well, you don't have fallen arches. It's just that relaxation starts taking place. So there can be a little bit more pronation in a foot later in life.
Great question.
Yes.
We're going to wrap it up, and I will.
There was one more.
One more? Was there one more question? Okay, you.
All right.
I will just do one quick audience participation. Of the people that have gotten shoes here, how many people did size up from what they're? Yeah, look at that. Look at that. If that's not enough, yeah, size up from what your normal, casual dress shoe size. Okay, we're done.
Okay.
See you next week. And next week is heart rate week.
Yes.
Finish.